Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Unfortanely, I Read Books. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "If we encounter a man of rare intellect, we should ask him what books he reads." In this episode, I'm just going to talk a little about who I am, the idea behind the Unfortunately I Read podcast, and my 2017 goal of reading 60 books in 1 year. So let's get into it. What's up, y'all? It's Alexander Rivas. This is awesome. I'm so excited. I came up with a nickname. You guys ready? Alexander the Great Reader. I like that. That's what I'm going to call myself on social media. Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. And, I'm Chicago. Born and raised from Chicago. Love Michael Jordan, love the Bulls. I lived around the gangs, the Kings, the Disciples, the Vice Lords. I lived around all that stuff. And I became a product of my environment. I started selling drugs. And I hated school. And I thought it was cool to hang around with gangs. So, that led me to dropping out of high school. So I'm a high school dropout. And just to please my mother, I went to go get my GED at Truman College. And I don't remember nothing. All I remember is smoking a lot of weed with a bunch of people that were just like me, that don't even belong there. They ain't taking life serious or school serious. But I somehow passed that test. And, I continued to sell drugs. I was getting bigger, taking on more risk. And I remember getting arrested, pulled over actually, and I didn't know my rights. And the officer was like, "Hey, do you got any weed or any drugs or anything?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." I didn't even plead the fifth or nothing. You couldn't even see them. And I told them where they were. I don't know why. I just was ignorant. So I went to jail. And then a week later, I had a supposed friend that brought some guys over that I didn't know, and they wanted to do a big deal, and we set it up for the next day. And the next day they robbed me. And they tied me up, they taped my mouth and everything. And, during that moment, I told God, even though I didn't believe in God, but when you're in moments like that, you'll speak to God and say, "God, if you get me out of this alive, I will never touch drugs." And I haven't touched drugs since that day. I did continue to use drugs, but not sell them. So, I came to Orlando, Florida, and I'm still living in Orlando. I live in Winter Park, actually, but Orlando's maybe 2-3 minutes away from me. And, I met my wife, Juliana, here. I got married here in Orlando. I have one child through marriage, Sophia. I've been raising her for 7 years. She's 9 years old. And my son, who's 3, Josiah, I bought my first home here. I'm proud to say that I own a home, and we've actually been remodeling it and everything, so it's pretty awesome. I have a home here in Winter Park. And another great thing that's happened to me, I got married 6 years ago. It's a 6-year anniversary, and I stopped doing drugs in Halloween. So August, at least 7 years I've been drug free. And as you know, I have a GED. I dropped out of high school and got my GED, and my family, my wife, inspired me to go to college. And I went to my community college and got my associate's degree. My teachers always told me I had potential, and I never understood. And I was like, potential? What am I supposed to do with that? But out of the 20 classes I took for my associate's degree, I got 18 A's and 2 B's. Amazing. I never knew. A guy that used to get all F's, and that was the potential in me. I'm a learner. So now this semester, spring 2018, I'm going to University of Central Florida, the second biggest university, something I'm proud of. I know a lot of entrepreneurs and motivational speakers. A lot of people talk bad about going to college, and I get what they're talking about. Like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, I wouldn't even recommend it either to go to college. because you're only going to learn how to be an employee, and you'll probably be an effective employee. And there's nothing wrong with being an employee. I'm doing it because I've never really had a foundational education at all, and I'm enjoying all this. I'm learning so much, and it helps me with my reading books. It helps me to, when I listen to podcasts, I understand a lot of economics, a lot of finance, a lot of accounting, a lot of philosophy, because I took some philosophy classes. So I have two really big hobbies. The first one is reading books. I love reading books. It's one of my favorite things to do. It de-stresses me. I read them all the time. Sometimes I read 2 to 3 at a time. And the other hobby is podcasts. I love podcasts. I listen to an ungodly amount, like maybe 5 hours a day. And I do it when I'm taking a shower, cleaning dishes, driving, cleaning the house, fixing things, watering the yard. Every time there's an opportunity, I'm listening to podcasts like School of Greatness, Impact Theory, Joe Rogan Experience, Tim Ferriss Show, Ty Lopez Show, Jordan B. Peterson Show, the Gary V. audio Experience. Marketing Secrets is a good one. Hardcore History, Freakonomics. So I love podcasts, and I believe it is the future, and I love everything about podcasts. And Ty Lopez has a company called MentorBox, and they had a headline through their advertising that it would say the average CEO reads 60 books, and that MentorBox company is like a monthly subscription, and they send you books, and you're being mentored reading books, and get the mindset of a CEO. So I was like, you know what, I should make that goal for myself, 60 books. So I broke that goal down to a monthly, to a weekly, to a daily goal. When you break things like goals like that, I've read books, I've heard coaches and business experts, say you got to break that goal to a daily goal. I did that, and I exceeded my goal. I reached my goals, over 64 books by the end of June. So I decided beginning in July to say, hey, I'm going to read 100 books. That would be amazing to say a high school dropout reads 100 books in 1 year. And I did it. Today is December. I'm recording this on December 30th. I won't finish another book, I know that, but I've already finished 105 books in 2017. I have a goodreads.com list. I'll put a tag on, a link to it. You can check it out if you're looking books to read. I read books like The Art of War, or is it The War of Art? Yeah, The War of Art. A Child Called It, $100 Startup, The Thank You Economy, The One Thing, and the Fed by Ron Paul, Civilization and Its Discontent, Sigmund Freud, Cold Case Christianity. Diverse subjects, just opening my mind. I like the feeling I get to just be able to read different genres. And that gave birth to this, what you're listening to, the Unfortanely, I Read Books podcast. And you're probably thinking how I came up with that name. And if you're not thinking about that, it's just a story that in college I experienced, I would always know a lot. I'd be engaged in my talks and the lectures, and I'd, answer questions and ask questions. And it's because I read books. And the teachers would, always say comments, and I would always react by, unfortunately, I read books. And that would always be my answer to everything. Unfortunately, I read books. And the same thing was happening when we went out for restaurants and things like that, and gathering with friends. I'd always be like, because people think I'm intelligent and smart, and it's just I read a lot of books. And I would always tell them, unfortunately, I read books. So, and that also built in me the ability to tell that if you read books or not, just by talking, with you for a couple of minutes. So, I created this podcast because I want to talk to people like me who love reading books for the sake of reading books. Like, not just because I want to read books and take action, which is great strategy, recommendation, way of living. It's great, but I apply a lot. Probably not everything, but I apply a lot. But I also like reading books. I love content. I'm a content junkie. And this is just a place to say, if you like content too, come along with me and we'll find more contact and we'll keep, over consuming, which is, I don't think is wrong. But who knows? Gary Vee won't be happy with that. But I like you, Gary Vee. I listen to you a lot and I read your books. But yeah, this is the vision of the podcast. I want to interview authors. I would love to interview authors, and I will. I know I will. I'm going to get there. I also want to make reading books cool, like kids in high school telling each other, yo, you read The Power Habit? That book, man, I'm starting to apply all the things the book says. It's changing my mind. The One Thing, Think and Grow Rich. All these books, changing people's minds. Growth mindset, grit, they're all talking about that like it's like a new album, a new dope, amazing album that's out, and they're talking about it as books, because books to me when I grew up weren't ever mentioned at all. I want to make it a cool thing, and I'm also looking to interview readers, talk about the books they read, hear how they interpret it, how it affects them. Engage in the genres they read and why they read them, just kind of make a cultural experiment, So I'm happy to document all this. I'm excited. This is the beginning. It's only going to get better. I'm happy for you that are listening and are going to jump on this ride with me. I'm looking for people to recommend, to critique, to be part of it. And this ain't something I'm doing to make money and hopefully I'll get some advertisers or anything like that. So it's just a place for readers. And we're going to see what this evolves to. I'm excited. And that's it. That's your first podcast. I'll speak to you in the next one. Now, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. The next episode 2, will be about how I read 105 books for free. Again, 105 books for free in 2017. Stay tuned.